Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. A ton of people have been asking me what happened to America's Motors, because obviously we haven't been shooting any content with them and they kind of fell off the face of the earth. So I'm going to talk about what happened and kind of what transpired and kind of led up to what happened. So when we moved in there, it was January of this year. We're moving out from our last lease and it was a small building. It was like a small commercial building north of the airport and it was a terrible location. I mean, it's hard to find. We only had 20 spaces to park vehicles, and it just didn't really make sense. So our lease was ending. We had a couple options. We could either move in with America's Motors, share facility, share people, or we could move in here, which we ended up coming here after. And we decided to go with America's Motors. We had an opportunity to share location, so essentially go from having like 20 cars up to, I mean, it's almost like 200 cars, exotic, some economy. So it's a super good opportunity. The owner of it, we kind of got on the same page about us managing it. That was kind of the intention. He wanted to focus on other parts of the business. Ideally, it was like online courses that we had created together. And that was it. So we were going to focus on the management of like the company. So our cars and his cars combined. And then he was going to focus on selling the courses, along with he wanted a little extra time to focus on his security business. And that was kind of the big thing, is we're saving him a little bit of time so he can go focus on that. And we had decided this before we even got in there. We didn't understand, how the operation looked. All we knew is, you have a lot of cars, you have a lot of high-end stuff, this is gonna be fun. So we got in there, I think it was January 1st, moved in really quickly. We took over an office. Me and my brother shared an office space. And it took us a while to really understand how the operation worked. It seemed like there's quite a bit of confusion on just the operational side. They had a standard operating procedure for a lot of things, but there's a lot of things that were like forgotten, like check-ins would sometimes be missed, checkouts would sometimes be missed. We didn't have a solid mechanic that was like consistently in. We had like one guy that was in and out. At the end, he just like didn't show up for 2 weeks, like no call, no show for 2 weeks. So we tried to hire another one. It was just like there were certain things that weren't dialed in. I mean, we didn't know about this before we moved in. So when we moved in, I mean, there's a big shock. You go from having 20 cars to 200 cars, but not only that, you're managing a team and system that is not perfectly dialed in. So it's kind of like you're trying to help almost improve them, but I mean, the pace that you're going at when you have 200 cars, if your system's not dialed in and perfect, it's very, very, very hard to improve things when you already have that big of an infrastructure and operation. So, I mean, we moved in there and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to improve processes, improve things, but it always felt like we were behind. Like they were doing check-ins like day of. So if a reservation goes out at 12 today, we're going to get it ready like 11:30, which it's not like people were sitting around. It's like we were constantly working. I mean, sometimes the people would be there for like 12 hours in a day to like get cars ready and move them. They were doing a ton of free airport delivery, like a lot. I mean, majority of airport delivery other than the really cheap cars, which meant that, the office was 15 minutes away from the airport, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you have 40 cars in one day going to the airport, that's a lot. That's a lot of cars going to the airport. So the airport deliveries was a huge thing. I mean, majority of the day was spent on airport deliveries and the rest was kind of trying to play pickup and get the cars ready for the day. So we kind of got in there and we're like, oh my gosh, like it just constantly felt like we're behind. Like, we'd work for 12 hours in a day and we like finish up, but some things felt like we didn't know if we'd miss stuff. We didn't know if we like didn't check stuff out. It's just, there's so much volume and not enough systems and procedures in place to like actually maintain it. So I can think about times where like certain cars weren't checked out or they weren't checked in, and it happened more often than you'd think. Like I probably found one every day or two out of like, the 40 or 50 cars, which I mean, we shouldn't even have one of those, but that obviously became a problem. So I mean, overall, it's just a huge balance of things. Like me and Zach were new to managing people. We're new to trying to fix operations, and it was tough. Like it was really a lot for us. I mean, it was a huge transition again from 20 cars to 200, having your own system that is for 20 cars, not 200, and going to a system that's not fully built yet for any amount of cars, let alone 200. So is a huge change. And so we had towards the end, all this was going on, is quite a bit. At the end, we had a conversation with the owner and we said we wanted a little more help from him on, he was getting really carried away with his security business, of course. Like that was part of what he wanted to do, was step away and focus on that. but he wasn't focusing as much on the courses, and we did need a little more help on the car rental side because it was a little overwhelming for the two of us. I mean, we went from spending, having like we could leave after like 6 hours working, 8 hours working, but there we're working 10 to 12 hour days and we weren't even getting everything done. So it just was a huge change. So we're kind of talking about, we're negotiating terms and trying to like figure out what we could do and trying to get him to be a little more involved. And during that conversation, it was pretty quick. I mean, it's probably like a 30 minutes to an hour conversation. Just somewhere in the middle of it, he said, I think I'm just going to shut it down. And he kind of gave a little bit of rhyme and reasoning to it. I don't know exactly what was going through his head. It kind of felt like it snapped to him. And I think there's probably a lot of things that added up. Obviously, the operation was it was a little bit of a mess, to be honest. So that was tough. He had his security business, which was taking over all of his time. And part of it is he just kind of came to a point, I think, where he had to choose like where he should spend the most time and what was most profitable for him. So, I mean, I can't blame him for that. There are probably a handful of other reasons, probably smaller ones, but he made that decision of I'm gonna shut it down. He said, let me talk to. He had a partner in the business, so he said, let me talk to my partner and see if he's okay with this, and then I'll let you guys know. So that was on like a Wednesday, I'm pretty sure. And then he's like, I'll let you know by Friday. I don't remember explicitly getting a text or a call like confirming it. I'm sure he might have, but I just don't remember a specific text. But pretty much I came in on Friday, me and Zach both did, and the stuff was like being moved. I mean, like they had cars pulled up front. They were moving all of the interior stuff into the cars. Like they were moving locations that day. And I walk in and I'm like, holy crap. He had like all of his security, people for a security company. They like sell security systems. So he had probably 10, 15 people like loading up all of this stuff in that business and putting it in the trucks and in the cars and stuff. And I was like, holy crap. So we like helped him out a little bit. And in this whole transitional period, this is another reason that he decided to shut down. We had like 4 full-time employees that were really like the cleaners, moving the cars, like they were the operation. They were quitting. Like one quit and then the other one's like, okay, if he quits, I'm quitting. And then it kind of was a domino effect. So literally on that day of moving, there was reservations, but nobody was there to take care of them. Like we didn't have a single person like move cars, get it ready, whatever. Like me and Zach, my brother, were helping do some of it, but like there's just like too much. So they were moving all the stuff out. He had a receptionist there. She was working on like shutting the account down, like canceling reservations by the tens, like tens and tens. Like she probably canceled 100 reservations in one day. And literally by the end of that day, everything had been moved out of the office. Other than we had like this like decent sized office with all of our stuff. Like other than our stuff, and they actually started moving our stuff thinking it was for the new office. So like I walk into my office and like almost everything's, not everything, but a good amount of stuff's gone, like all my books, some of my shelves and stuff. I'm like, wait, where's my stuff? And I look out in one of the cars and it's like all packed up and I was like, my stuff's not moving. So it's instant. Like in one day they got, and it was impressive. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. They got all this stuff from the operation into cars and moved to the new office, which was like 30 minutes north. I don't know exactly where it is, but just in a different location. And then the cars, that was a little bit of a longer process. The owner decided to sell them at auction, majority of them. So pretty much it was a week of like waiting for the cars to come back from reservation, getting them ready, getting them brought to the auction. We helped out the best we could. I mean, there's a lot of cars that had to go and we still had our operation that we had to deal with. So we helped like get cars ready, get them from the airport, facilitate a little bit. It was hard to like give a lot of time to that just because like we had our own operation we had to deal with at that point. We did give some help and some hands. And then I think the span was probably a week. Like it went from a fully operating business to 1 week later, nothing. No cars, no office, like nothing. So, I mean, for those of you who asked, it was essentially the owner decided to shut it down for a handful of reasons, and he did that in under a week. And our connection with him is we were partnered with him. We shared costs in the office and the people, and then we shared our course that he was selling, and then he went out of business, and we just had to find a new office. Luckily, I know the guy that runs this place, and we were already planning on moving in here at some point, so we ended up coming here. So that's it. Pretty crazy, honestly. I mean, it was such a fast turn of events, and I've had people call me, text me, email me, comment on my videos like, what happened, and I've probably explained it like probably 20 to 30 times, but you know, now I have a video where people can see it and understand what happened. I hope that sheds some light on what happened. I appreciate everybody's support, and I'll see you in the next video.